Hey everybody, it is middle of December and I'm out here probably for what is going to be my last paddle of the year. The boating season actually closes down on December 31st, so after that I won't be able to come out here regardless of the weather. But today is probably going to be the last warmish day that I feel like getting out here on the water. So I thought I'd shoot a few minutes of video just to show everybody a little bit of the contrast between how lush and green and beautiful everything is in the warmer months versus coming out here in the middle of winter when everything is so stark and bare. So we're going to paddle down around the bend and we'll go out to the main channel and then make our way back around. So we'll get a little more video, see a little more sights while we're out here. So sit tight, I'll see you around the corner. All right everybody, we're going to take a little break from paddling and we are going to come over here and have a closer look at this little pile of sticks. I see piles of sticks like this all the time and to varying degrees of size, and I believe they are made by beavers, and I've never really been sure whether or not they are the beginnings of a beaver lodge or if it's just sort of busy work, you know, sort of, you know, beavers just do stuff all the time. Are they actually building a lodge, or are they just piling up sticks out of sort of habit? And this one almost looks like a lodge that's been collapsed or something. You can actually see a tunnel that goes down into the dirt. We've got space underneath of here, and it also looks like it goes up underneath of there. So I would imagine at one time this whole area right here was covered in a big mound of sticks, and this whole area underneath of it was where the beavers were living. So this looks like an old lodge, and I see these around here everywhere. Beavers are common enough, but it makes me wonder how many houses does each beaver have, or how many do they need? Because I see these all the time, and I know that at least some of them are lodges because I've been standing on top of them fishing in the springtime and heard little whining, crying sounds, only to realize I was standing on a lodge that actually had babies inside of it, and so I, you know, got out of the area pretty quickly at that point. But I think that's what that is. I think that's an old abandoned semi-collapsed beaver lodge. So there you go, just a little point of interest on our paddle around. We're going to head on down. Just around this corner there's a cove that I like to fish in when the weather's warmer, so we're going to just go have a little paddle up through that cove and have a look around and make our way back out from there. All right, as I was just saying, I see these out here all over the place. We're actually just around the corner from where we were a few minutes ago. We just came from around the bend down there. We're up in that cove I was speaking of. And lo and behold, there's another one of those great big lodges. That one's much larger, and you can also see the sort of hollow cavity in the middle there. So that's definitely either the beginnings of or the remains of a beaver lodge. And of course you can see beaver damage on the trees and fallen trees and chewed up branches and everything else all over the place around here. So again, no shortage of beavers, but it still just seems odd to me how many beaver lodges I come across while I'm out here. So anyway, we're just heading on up into the back end of this cove. I might shoot a short video for my fish keeping YouTube channel. Up around the bend here there's a little stream that flows down into this cove, and it was partially the inspiration for my waterfall tank. So depending on what it looks like when we get there, we might shoot a little video of that. So sit tight, we'll see what happens. Since beavers seem to be the theme of today's video, I just thought I would stop and show you this. I'm hoping you can clearly see that trail that comes right down out of the hills and across that flat, smooth rock down into the water. That is what I think of as a beaver slide. I don't know what they're technically called, and I suspect if you Google the search term beaver slide, you might come up with something significantly different than that. But what they do is they sort of run and scurry and slide right down into the water. They hit the water at full speed and just go right under the surface and keep on going. You'll notice there's no rocks or obstructions or anything. They just shoot down into the water off of those things, and I see those fairly commonly too, although it's not so often I see them quite so distinctly displayed like that. That's one of the benefits of coming out here in the winter, is you get to see all of the underlying structure that's hidden by the leaves and foliage and everything in the warmer weather. So anyway, we are still heading on up to where I was just talking about. We're literally 30 yards up from where we stopped to look at that last beaver lodge, so we have not made much progress at all. Again, you can see another one comes right down here. They're just everywhere out here. This tree right here, you can see how that's clearly been chewed off by a beaver. Almost all these trees you see that we're passing over have been chewed off by beavers. You can see the branches are missing. You can see where the bark has been chewed off of the trees. Let's come up around the bend here. I know there's an interesting rock. I like to fish around this point, but we might actually see something interesting up in this corner when we come around here, but it doesn't look like it. Just an old fallen tree. So anyway, let me keep on keeping on. We're going to go up and around this point right here where that other fallen tree is, and that'll be more or less the end of it. The end of the cove, the back of the cove is right there. I might paddle in there just so I can say I went all the way to the back of it, but there's not a lot to see back there, so we are probably going to end up just right here. So sit tight. We've come this far together. Might as well go a few more minutes and I'll get you up into that little cove, and I can bid you adieu from there. It's definitely interesting coming out here in the winter and seeing the shape of the hills, and you can see the rocky structures everywhere. I normally see stuff like this down by the water's edge and maybe some of the lower stuff, but you got to come out here in the winter time to really be able to see up into the hills. One of the things I find fascinating is now that all the leaves are gone, I see these hornets' nests that are, I can see one right there as a matter of fact. We just passed underneath a couple on our way up here, and that was my point, is I like to paddle along the shoreline underneath the trees in the summertime, and I occasionally will spot those hornets' nests, and I mark mentally where they are, and I try to avoid those areas. But now that I'm up here and there's no leaves and I can actually see these hornets' nests, they're everywhere. I must have paddled underneath of so many of them over the summer, and apparently if you don't bother them, they won't bother you, because I've never had them harass me or anything. But those hornets' nests are everywhere. So apparently that's common for that species of hornet to build their nests in trees that overhang the water. It's a good, safe place to be. But I'm going to have to definitely be keeping my eyes open next spring and summer when I get back out here. All right, so this is the little notch at the end of the cove, or the little cove within the cove. And all the way in the back of it is a little stream that feeds down into it. And if you see it, you can see it sort of just flowing down over a series of little falls and stuff, and it makes its way down here into this cove. You can see all the plants coming up from the bottom. Now you can actually see the bottom starting to show up. This was shaped quite a bit differently last time I was in here. There was a big beach over on this side, and there was no way to get anywhere near the mouth of this little stream that flows in. If I hadn't come in from this angle, I might have actually been able to get all the way up into the nose of that. So let's see if I can scoot forward a little bit here, get off of that sandbank. Well, that's about the end of the line. Now I guess I could get out and walk around a little bit, but it's just a little stream that flows in and comes down over the rocks and stuff. So that is partially the inspiration for my waterfall. Again, imagine that all just sort of squeezed up flat and facing you, and that would be sort of what you're looking at. So all right, everybody, unless I see something interesting, I'm going to call it good here and take a little break. Say thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you real soon in the next one.